Hello, my name is Emma. Welcome to the Bible Quiz Academy. I'm so glad that you have decided to join and participate. Let's get into the first question. In which book of the Bible can you find the prophecy of a flying scroll? Malachi, Zechariah, or Ezekiel? The answer is Zechariah. I looked again, and there before me was a flying scroll. He asked me, "What do you see?" I answered, "I see a flying scroll, 20 cubits long and 10 cubits wide." Who was the mother of Abijah, the king of Judah? Maacah, Chelub, or Jephthah? The answer is Maacah. King Asa also deposed his grandmother Maacah from her position as queen mother because she had made a repulsive image for the worship of Asherah. Asa cut it down, broke it up, and burned it in the Kidron Valley. What did the Lord tell Jeremiah to buy from his cousin? A potter's jar, a yoke of oxen, or a field? A field. Hanamel, son of Shalom, your uncle is going to come to you and say, "Buy my field at Anathoth, because as nearest relative it is your right and duty to buy it." Then, just as the Lord had said, my cousin Hanamel came to me in the courtyard of the guard and said, "Buy my field at Anathoth in the territory of Benjamin, since it is your right to redeem it and possess it. Buy it for yourself." Which of the 12 tribes of Israel was not allotted any land? Simeon, Levi, or Dan? Levi. But to the tribe of Levi he gave no inheritance, since the food offerings presented to the Lord, the God of Israel, are their inheritance, as he promised them. Who was the father of Goliath, the giant slain by David? Lamai, Rapha, or it was not mentioned? Not mentioned. A champion named Goliath, who was from Gath, came out of the Philistine camp. His height was 6 cubits and a span. In which book of the Bible does the prophet Hosea mention the story of Baal Peor? Deuteronomy, Hosea, or Numbers? The answer is Numbers. So Moses said to Israel's judges, "Each of you must put to death those of your people who have yoked themselves to the Baal of Peor." Who tore his clothes when he heard Jesus' declaration of being the Messiah? Was it Caiaphas, Moab, or Barnabas? Caiaphas, but Jesus remained silent. The high priest said to him, "I charge you under oath by the living God. Tell us if you are the Messiah, the Son of God." According to the book of Revelation, how many angels were holding the 4 winds of the earth? 7, 4, or 12? 4. After this I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back the 4 winds of the earth to prevent any wind from blowing on the land, or on the sea, or on any tree. What did King Ahaziah of Israel send to consult after he fell through the lattice in his upper chamber in Samaria? The god of Ekron, the priests of Baal-zebub, or the prophet Elijah? The god of Ekron. Now Ahaziah had fallen through the lattice of his upper room in Samaria and injured himself. So he sent messengers saying to them, "Go and consult Baalzebub, the god of Ekron, to see if I will recover from this injury." How many sons did Gideon have? 72, 71, or 77? 77. From Judges chapter 8 verse 30, he had 70 sons of his own, for he had many wives. In which book of the Bible do we find the story of the sun standing still? Judges, James, or Joshua? Joshua. So the sun stood still and the moon stopped, till the nation avenged itself on its enemies, as it is written in the book of Jashar. The sun stopped in the middle of the sky and delayed going down about a full day. Who was the first king of Israel? Was it Saul, Elijah, or David? Saul. Then Samuel took a flask of olive oil and poured it on Saul's head and kissed him, saying, "Has not the Lord anointed you ruler over his inheritance?" Who was the father of King Jehoiakim? Darius, Agag, or Josiah? The answer is Josiah. The waters flooded the earth for 150 days. This comes from Genesis chapter 7, verse 24. What was the name of the wife of Potiphar who falsely accused Joseph of attempting to assault her? Was it Zuleika, Zipporah, or Asenath? Zuleika. She caught him by his cloak and said, "Come to bed with me," but he left his cloak in her hand and ran out of the house. This comes from Genesis chapter 39, verse 12. Who was the first king of Judah after the kingdom was divided? Was it Rehoboam, Abijah, or Jeroboam? The answer is Rehoboam. When all Israel saw that the king refused to listen to them, they answered the king, "What share do we have in David? What part in Jesse's son? To your tents, Israel! Look after your own house, David!" So the Israelites went home, but as for the Israelites who were living in the towns of Judah, Rehoboam still ruled over them. In which city was Paul when he experienced the vision of a man pleading, "Come over to Macedonia and help us"? Troas, Ephesus, or Corinth? Troas. So they passed by Mysia and went down to Troas. During the night, Paul had a vision of a man of Macedonia standing and begging him. After Paul had seen the vision, we got ready at once to leave for Macedonia, concluding that God had called us to preach the gospel to them. Who was the mother of King Jehu of Israel? Zibiah, Athaliah, or Hushai? Zibiah. Now there were in Samaria 70 sons of the house of Ahab. So Jehu wrote letters and sent them to Samaria, to the officials of Jezreel, to the elders, and to the guardians of Ahab's children. He said, "How many years did Solomon take to build the temple of the Lord in Jerusalem? 7, 20, or 13? 7. In the 11th year in the month of Bul, the 8th month, the temple was finished in all its details according to its specifications. He had spent 7 years building it. What was the name of the priest who offered a blessing to Abraham after his victory over the kings? Was it Melchizedek, Eli, or Aaron? Melchizedek. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High, and he blessed Abram, saying, Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth. Who was the father of Methuselah, the man who lived the longest recorded lifespan in the Bible? Lamech, Zechariah, or Ahasuerus? Lamech. When Methuselah had lived 187 years, he became the father of Lamech. After he became the father of Lamech, Methuselah lived 782 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Methuselah lived a total of 969 years, and then he died. According to the book of Ezekiel, what kind of creature did Ezekiel see in his vision by the Kebar River? Cherubim, Ophanim, or Seraphim? Cherubim. The Lord said to the man clothed in linen, Go in among the wheels beneath the cherubim, fill your hands with burning coals, and among the cherubim, and scatter them all over the city. As I watched, he went in. How many days was Jonah in the belly of the great fish? Was it 3, 40, or Reuben? Three. Now the Lord provided a huge fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. This comes from Jonah chapter 1, verse 17. What was the name of the man who replaced Judas Iscariot among the 12 apostles? Matthias, Silas, or Barnabas? Matthias. Then they cast lots, and the lot fell to Matthias. So he was added to the 11 apostles. This comes from Acts chapter 1, verse 26. What were the names of Job's 3 friends who came to console him? Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, Elkanah, Baruch, and Zedekiah, or Elihu, Bilhah, and Zerah? Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. When Job's 3 friends, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite, heard about all the troubles that had come upon him, they set out from their homes and met together by agreement to go and sympathize with him and comfort him. Who was the king of Judah when Jerusalem was besieged by Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians? Zedekiah, John, or Hezekiah? Zedekiah. So in the 9th year of Zedekiah's reign, on the 10th day of the 10th month, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, marched against Jerusalem with his whole army. He encamped outside the city and built siege works all around it. In which book of the Bible is the Song of Solomon found? Ecclesiastes, Proverbs, or Psalms? Ecclesiastes, from Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 1, Solomon's Song of Songs. What was the occupation of Aquila and Priscilla who befriended Paul? Were they fishermen, tent makers, or tax collectors? Tent makers. There he met a Jew named Aquila, a native of Pontus, who had recently come from Italy with his wife Priscilla because Claudius had ordered all Jews to leave Rome. Paul went to see them, and because he was a tent maker as they were, he stayed and worked with them. What was the name of the valley where David fought Goliath? Was it the Valley of Rephaim, Valley of Megiddo, or the Valley of Elah? Valley of Elah. Saul and the Israelites assembled and camped in the Valley of Elah and drew up their battle line to meet the Philistines. How many chapters are there in the book of Revelation? Is it 24, 22, or 27? The grace of the Lord Jesus be with God's people. Amen. Is Revelation chapter 22, verse 21, which is the final chapter in the book of Revelation. Who was the prophet who was asked to marry a prostitute as a symbol of God's relationship with Israel? Hosea, Ruel, or Hobab? Hosea. When the Lord began to speak through Hosea, the Lord said to him, "Go marry a promiscuous woman and have children with her, for like an adulterous wife, this land is guilty of unfaithfulness to the Lord." What was the name of the city where Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead? Capernaum, Bethany, or Jericho? Bethany. Now a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha, from John chapter 11, verse 1. In which book of the Bible is the story of the prophet Balaam and his talking donkey found? Deuteronomy, Numbers, or Joshua? Numbers. Balaam got up in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went with the Moabite officials. This is from Numbers, chapter 22, verse 21. What was the name of the city where Jesus met the Samaritan woman at the well? Sychar, Nazareth, or Samaria? Sychar. So he came to a town in Samaria called Sychar, near the plot of ground Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired as he was from the journey, sat down by the well. It was about noon. When a Samaritan woman came to draw water, Jesus said to her, "Will you give me a drink?" Who was the wife of Nabal who later became the wife of David after Nabal's death? Abigail, Michal, or Bathsheba? Abigail. His name was Nabal and his wife's name was Abigail. She was an intelligent and beautiful woman, but her husband was surly and mean in his dealings. He was a Calebite. What was the name of the servant girl who recognized Peter at the door when he denied knowing Jesus? Was it Rhoda, Dorcas, or Phoebe? Rhoda. Peter knocked at the outer entrance, and a servant named Rhoda came to answer the door. This is from Acts chapter 12, verse 13. Which book of the Bible contains the story of the fall of Lucifer and his rebellion against God? Ezekiel, Isaiah, or Revelation? The answer is Isaiah. How you have fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn. You have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations. Who was the king of Israel when the prophet Elisha cured Naaman, the Syrian commander, of leprosy? Jehoram, Ahab, or Jehu? Jehoram. Now Naaman was commander of the army of the king of Aram. He was a great man in the sight of his master and highly regarded, because through him the Lord had given victory to Aram. He was a valiant soldier, but he had leprosy. What was the name of the Assyrian king who besieged Jerusalem during the reign of King Hezekiah? Israel, Sennacherib, or Shalmaneser? Sennacherib. In the 14th year of King Hezekiah's reign, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, attacked all the fortified cities of Judah and captured them. According to the book of Joshua, what was the name of the prostitute who helped the Israelite spies in Jericho? Rahab, Hosea, or Tamar? Rahab. Then Joshua son of Nun secretly sent 2 spies from Shittim. Go over the land, he said, especially Jericho. So they went and entered the house of a prostitute named Rahab and stayed there. What was the name of the river in which Naaman, the Syrian commander, dipped himself 7 times to be cured of leprosy? Abana, Euphrates, or Jordan? Jordan. Elisha sent a messenger to say to him, Go wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh will be restored, and you will be cleansed. Thank you, everyone. Please share your score in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for participating, and be sure to come back for more Bible quizzes.